Hi, this is Vicki with craftingforfun.blogspot.com. Today I'm going to show you how I made this Santa Claus card. This card has lots of different textures and is a standard A2 size card. It's very dimensional. I do want to caution you that this card is pretty thick, so if you plan to mail this card you will want to allow for extra postage, and you'll want to make sure that it gets hand canceled. But this could easily be included in a gift box, or it could be hand delivered. So let me explain which supplies you'll need to make the card. To create this card, you'll need several different shades of cardstock. To begin with, I created a card base using Old Olive cardstock. It's a green shade available from Stampin' Up. I cut this piece at 4 1/4 by 11 inches. I scored it at 5 1/2 inches and folded it in half to make a standard card base. My base layer is cut. It is by the way, this is Cherry Cobbler. It's a red color from Stampin' Up. It was cut at 4 inches by 5 1/4, and that will layer on top. Next, you'll need a piece of light pink cardstock. This is Pink Pirouette. It is cut at 3 3/4 by 2 1/2 inches. Then you'll need 3 pieces of white cardstock. This one is 1 inch by 3 3/4 inches. You'll need a piece that is 3 3/4 inches by 2 1/4 inch, and then you'll need a piece that is roughly 2 inches by 4 inches to create the mustache. I also am using a specialty paper. This paper has a suede or a velvet feel on the front and a papery kind of feel on the back. I do not know where I got this paper, but I happen to have some scraps of it, and I thought it would be fun to use for Santa Claus's hat. If you don't have paper like this available to you, you could easily use Cherry Cobbler cardstock and get a very similar effect. So, like I said, this piece is 3 3/4 by 1 inch, and this piece here was created by cutting a 2-inch square out of the same specialty paper and then cutting it in half diagonally from corner to corner to create a right triangle. You'll need a piece like that. You'll also need a 1-inch pom-pom or a cotton ball. Either will work fine, and 2 17mm wiggle eyes, and I have already attached foam dimensionals to the back of mine. I'm going to use the Stampin' Up Top Note die and my Big Shot machine. I'm going to use a scalloped border punch. This one is from Stampin' Up, and a 3/4 inch circle punch. I will also be using 3 Cuttlebug folders with my Big Shot machine to add the texture to my pieces. I'll be using the Swiss Dots folder, the Distressed Stripes folder, and the Divine Swirl folder. The Swirl folder will be used on Santa Claus's beard and mustache. The Swiss Dot folder will be used on the brim of Santa Claus's hat, and the Distressed Stripes is going to be used on the fur pieces or the velvet pieces for Santa Claus's hat. You'll also need 2 shades of ink. I am using Pretty in Pink to sponge around the edge of Santa Claus's nose, and then just a brown shade, and I'll be using Soft Suede just to go around the edge of Santa Claus's mustache to give it a little more definition. And then I'm going to use some pearlescent chalk to chalk Santa Claus's cheeks today. So that, in addition to some adhesives, and that, I believe, is all of the supplies you'll need. So let me get my things together, and I'll come back and show you how I created my Santa Claus card. Okay, I'm going to quickly show you how I assembled my card. I have my base card and my Cherry Cobbler cardstock. I'm going to apply adhesive to the back of my Cherry Cobbler layer, and I'm going to attach that to the front of my card, carefully centering it so that I have the same amount of border on the top, the bottom, and on both sides. So that is the base of my card. And I'm going to take my Pink Pirouette piece, the one that is cut at 3 3/4 by 2 1/2. I'm going to apply adhesive to that piece, and I'm going to apply it to the front of the card as well. Now I want to make sure that I center this carefully from side to side, and I want about the same amount of space above and below this piece. It is not as important that this space above and below be as exact as the space from side to side, because the above and below will not show, but you will be able to see the sides when in the finished card. So that's attached. Next I'm going to apply, I have taken my specialty papers, this is the velvet paper, and I ran them through my Big Shot machine using the Distress Lines folder. So this is the piece that measures 3 3/4 by 1. I want to apply adhesive to the back of that piece. And this, I did find that this specialty paper is a little more difficult to get it to stick firmly, so you want to apply a generous amount of adhesive. And I'm going to apply that to the front of my card, again trying to line the top edge of my specialty paper up with the top of my cherry cobbler piece, and leaving the same amount of space on both sides. That will show on the finished card. This piece was the white piece that it was 1 inch by 3 3/4 inch, and what I did was I used the border punch along one long edge, and then after I punched the edge, I ran the whole thing through my Big Shot machine using the Swiss Dots embossing folder. So I'm going to add that to the front of my card, and that piece will cover the edge of the specialty paper as well as the edge of the pink piece, and it kind of acts as a little bridge. Make sure that's adhered well. Then I'm going to take my little right triangle piece, and the lines run in the same direction as they do on the top of my hat. I'm going to apply adhesive to that piece, again making sure that I have a generous amount of coverage so that I can get that specialty paper to stick well. And this is supposed to look like Santa Claus's hat has just, the point on the end of Santa Claus's hat has just flipped forward. So I'm going to line that up so the top is even with the top of my specialty paper piece, and the side is even with the cherry cobbler piece underneath. So that is on there. Then I'm going to take my white piece that measures 3 3/4 by 2 1/4. I ran that through the Big Shot machine with the Divine Swirls embossing folder, so it now has texture on it, and I am putting the embossed side up. So the raised side is facing up. Apply adhesive on the back, and I'm going to go to the bottom of my card and make sure that I have about the same amount of border showing on the bottom and on both sides, and I'm going to apply that piece. Now I'm going to show you how I created the mustache. I'm going to move the card aside for a moment. To create the mustache piece, I took a piece of white cardstock and my Big Shot die. This piece of cardstock measures 2 by 4, and I laid it across the narrow end of my die so that the straight edge of my paper is even with the bottom of the foam, and the other edge of my paper overhangs the die. And then I sandwiched it between 2 acrylics and ran it through my Big Shot machine. And what I came out with was a piece that looks like this. So then I'm going to take that piece and I'm just going to push it down to the end of the die so that these little rounded edges of the cut piece line up with the edge of the foam. Now you'll notice that the point sticks slightly over, but the rounded edges are even with the foam. I'm going to sandwich that between acrylics and carefully run it through the Big Shot machine again. And what I will end up with is, is a piece that looks like this. This piece has a shaped top and a shaped bottom. Now you'll notice it has a little perforated line that runs along this edge. Don't worry about that. You're going to take your mustache shaped piece and you're going to put it in your Swiss Dots embossing folder and run it through your Big Shot machine again. And what you will end up with, I'm going to bring my card back. What you will end up with is a piece that looks like this. So it has the definition on it from the swirly embossing folder, and it has the shape of a mustache. Now what I want to do is add a little sponging along the edges just to give this piece a little more definition. So I'll grab my sponging supplies and I'll be right back.